money and optimize you doing phase one. Or at least it can partially help you do that. Let me give you my background a little bit. I've been in this business since early 80s, 1980. I'm an old guy. I went to school at UC Davis in resource science and got 3 minors, environmental toxicology being one of them, soil science and water science. And I was a general contractor, and I went to work for an environmental firm in the early 80s doing mainly, back then it was PCB, transformer drain and flushes. And then we expanded into just about everything. And in the late 80s, early 90s, we started doing phase one. And then the company sold and changed hands 3 times in 1 year. And I took my golden parachute as one of the officers of the company and started a company called Phase I Inc. You may have heard of us. And Phase I Inc., which no longer does phase ones anymore and pretty much no longer in business, kind of faded out, developed ERS, the Regulatory Radius Search Report, for our own use and gathering historical information and that kind of stuff. And then as our competitors in the phase one business reviewed our database reports, they started asking if they could buy them. And so we started selling them under ERS about 17 years ago. And then it's involved. So ERS, all its reports and all its products and everything else were developed by environmental professionals to make it easier to use, to review, to do a phase one report, really. But from my experience in running phase one and being involved in tens of thousands of phase ones one way or another, from writing them to doing sidewalks, etc., we set up all these systems so we can make money. Because as you all know, the price of phase ones has gone down and become more and more price sensitive. You know, getting $3,000–4,000 for phase one it's pretty hard to do nowadays. Every once in a while, you got a client who wants the best report they can possibly get, and they might pay that. But it's rare nowadays. And to be competitive and get some of these big jobs, I mean, I've heard of people going all the way down to $950 for a phase one. I can't even imagine. But what happens is a lot of this gets lost. A lot of the pre-prep and stuff like that gets lost once the price gets so low that you just go and do the job. And I'm going to try to, hopefully, you know, I don't know it all. Nobody knows it all. I'm learning every day. But hopefully you can pick up something that you can use from us that ERS now provides for free to its clients. So, excuse me. All the items I'm going to talk about is really a process that really worked to make it so when phase one was doing phase ones, we could make money. I mean, we can make money at $950. We're not going to make a lot. It's worth doing it at $950. I don't know. That's kind of up to you. But the real key is I'm going to go over pretty much how we did it. So, in today's, so basically we're going to talk about successful preparation in site walk and inspection. And what I mean by successful is it's really efficient, the most efficient way. The worst thing you want is to have some questions come back from that site walk or not pick up all the information you need for the report writer if they're 2 different people, and you have to go back to the site because that costs you money. And anytime you've got to go back to a site, it's expensive, especially if that site's, in a different town or a different state, then it really gets expensive. So as I'm talking, if you ever have any questions, please interrupt me because I start talking real quick and you slow me down. And no question is a dumb question. I love questions. So please, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in chat and we'll go ahead and post them and then I'll answer. All this documentation I'm going to be talking about, from the owner operator questionnaires and the interview sheets and the checklist for the field site walk and all that stuff, is available. All those documents exactly match our Phase I report writing template that you can get for free. Other companies charge money for them. We don't charge a thing. It comes with your logo and a bunch of stuff automatically shot into it, including the radius search report, which we'll talk about a lot. And it's free if you order a radius search report. And we'll give you a copy of that. And if you want to make changes on it, it's a Word document and make it fit your template with your terms and conditions and that kind of stuff in it, and give it back to us. Then every time you order and you select that, it'll be your template. So it's up to you. But you got to be our client to get all that stuff. So all we ask is that you order, a $79 radius search report, and you can have free use of the template, get copies of all these documents, everything. And Grayson put up his name, so if you want any of this stuff, just go ahead and request it from him. And then first thing he's going to do is see if you ever ordered from us. And so you're probably going to need to order from us, and then we'll send it out to you. So let's get started. Any questions so far? I don't think so. So one of the first things is you win a job. Either you get a signed contract, or a client you do business with you all the time sends you an address, or however you get your jobs. But the first thing is you need to set up a field file, or we did a field file. So everything that comes in gets in there that's needed for the sidewalk, comes in, gets in there. And a computer file, so things that don't need to be hard copy come in. And that way, obviously, everything's kept in one place. And of course, the first thing you got to do, is sign a job number to the new job. As simple as that is, there's a lot of people who don't do that because they don't do very many Phase Is, but it keeps them separated, especially when you get a lot of Phase Is in the door. So set up a field file, open a job, however you guys do it. And then somebody should order your rec check report, or radius search report, because there's a lot of things in that that need to be gone over the field inspector prior to them going out so they can look for things. In addition to the radius search report, and being able to take out like the 1/16 of a mile map out into the field with you, ERS has a app for iPhone or Android in being beta tested right now. And everyone who attends a webinar, we've been sending the link to be able to download that app and go ahead and try it. But basically what this app does is once you load it on your phone, you press a button to order a report, and it grabs your lat long from your phone, which is your location. So you're standing in front of the building you're going to inspect. It grabs that lat long, and then you hit a button to email it to us. And it emails to us and runs a brief report, just really adjacent sites and your subject property, immediately adjacent and subject property, and of the main key things, you know, open cases, lusts, that kind of thing, super fun sites, and whether your site is listed for anything or not. And what it does is it gives your assessor a heads up to what they need to look for on your site and adjacent sites. Very important, so you don't have to go back on the site. That is free. Try our app while it's in beta testing for free. We think you'll really like it. Anyway, if you'd like to get that, there you go. Grayson's already put up that. Sarah, it takes 2 minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes. Sometimes a little longer if you have bad reception, but that's it. It's really what comes back as a map and a couple listings, and that's it. Yeah, you should give it a try. It's sweet. So anyway, you open the job, you get a job number. The next step is you need to order your radius search or rec check report. Our radius search report is a rec check. And I guess I ought to click. Then you send your questionnaires out. Now, the ASTM standards require that you have questionnaires for owner, operator, that kind of stuff. We have set questionnaires that ask the standard questions plus a few over the years we learned. And if you're a client, we'd be glad to give you a copy of those questionnaires in Word format so you can see if there's anything in that you'd like to use in your questionnaire. Or if you want to use our questionnaires, no problem. But keep in mind the questionnaires exactly also match our report writing template. So when you get them back, it's very easy to put in, or even a word processor who doesn't know any environmental can put them in. Data entry. So, and then you've got to arrange the site walk date and time. So then you know to tell your inspector when to go out or when you need to go out, and document that somehow and put that in the field file. So you're creating this folder as you're going. So very, very important that these things are done up front. Now the radius search regulatory historical report, if you order a pack with historical information like aerial photos, fire insurance map, city directory, it's going to take you 2 or 3 days before you get that. That's why the app is really good. But you will get the radius search report in a matter of hours. But if you need it instantaneously, the app's great. And the app's great anyway because you can walk around with it on your phone. And you don't have to carry extra paper or print anything out. So it's pretty cool. Things to review. So now you got all this stuff in your report, in your field folder or your file for the report writer. And they may be one and the same because the report writer may be the person doing the field inspection. When we were doing, 1,000 or 2,000 phase ones in a year or more, we had a lot of people doing site inspections, and the report writers were in-house writing the report. So the field inspector had to be the eyes and ears, and we had to make sure that they got everything they needed. So the report writer who's ever writing the report would take the 15, 20 minutes to review this stuff and then download what they wanted the field assessor to pay particular attention to. So you want to look at the subject site and adjacent sites. If you got big manufacturing, look at an aerial photo, and you can see that in our rec check report. Quarter mile, 16th mile map, see what listing. So let's go to the rec check really quick. Hold on, take me just a minute to get there. Anyway, what we're going to do is review the rec check real quick, just to show you how easy it is to get around it. And pick up the things you need for your site assessor to look at. And that's really, really important. Okay, so here's a rec check report. And they're really easy to get around. I don't know what happened. Okay, so the first thing you want to do when you get your rec check report or radius search, check and make sure the address is correct. To get around really easy, click on the ribbon on the left side. This is a PDF document. Click on it real quick, and you can get around really quick. So right away, go to the executive summary. The executive summary says, hey, your subject site's listed. See right there, subject site listed? Right away, I'm going to look and see what it's listed for. Now, whenever a subject site's listed, it's also always map ID 1 detail. You can always do this in a different order. But this is one of the easiest ways. So go to the details, and right away, it's a historic RV dealer. Well, that's interesting. So I know at least what I'm getting into when I do the site inspection. So our historic RV dealer. Now, I don't know exactly what they're selling, but most likely if they're a dealer, they do repair. Boat dealer. Heck, they're a boat dealer. So right away, I know they're going to do repair on boat motors and stuff. So I'm going to tell my assessor to look for staining, oil storage, hazardous materials storage. It's double contained. Take pictures of all that. Look around the yard, make sure there's no leaking, staining oil from the boats, that kind of thing. But it gives him a heads up to keep his eyes open. The other thing to look at is the 1/16 of a mile radius map. Now, for those of you who aren't currently our clients, you don't know the color coding. If it's green, it's good. See, green, it's good. Yellow is you should look at it. Red is bad to the bone. Red is really bad. And you might want to look at these details. So to look at the detail, you don't click on the map because that takes a lot of storage space and we don't want to make your report too big. You just click over here. It's just as easy, just as quick to get around, and you'll get the details of these sites. And so you might want, if you don't have the app, you might want to print this out and say, hey, I want you, and write right on this map, hey, I want you to look at this, this, and this on these adjacent sites. On the subject site, I want you to look for this. And then print it out, write on it, and include it in the field file that the assessor takes out with him. It makes it a whole lot simpler, and you want to make sure doesn't miss anything. Now, if you see 2's an open case, it happens to be a lust case, it's open. I would want to go pull the files on that. I'd like to go to the regulatory agency that has the listing, and I want my assessor or field inspector to do it at the same time. While they're out in the field, they can go to the agency. In most cases, it's reasonably close or it's in the city. This lust tank may be at the fire department, who knows. Depends on what state you're in, city you're in, county you're in. But the point is, I want, when someone goes out of the office, I want everything that needs to be done out of the office at the same time. And I think reviewing this file to make sure you know, if anything's coming onto my site, because you know groundwater flows towards a water source. So here's a river, groundwater flows towards that. But let's look at another thing. There's a little bigger view. It shows you there's even a bigger view. So groundwater is going to flow south-southeast, right? No doubt about it. Slam dunk. So, big thing. You're getting a picture of this site. If you're the report writer, all this is going to do, reviewing this before you tell it to the field assessor, is going to give you heads up. I always have a little notepad and I'm making little notes. I'm going to put that in my file. So when I write this, I look at these things. They come back in from the field. So that's really, really important. The other thing is, I want to look at the mapped air permits for potential vapor intrusion. An air permit is issued to anyone who uses a lot of volatile organic chemicals and that it's going into the air. Usually paint spray booths, sometimes dry cleaners, sometimes all kinds, you know, manufacturing. But it gives you a heads up. Now that site's pretty far away from my site. It says 28. Let's go look real quick. 28. Yeah, it's about, gosh, not quite a quarter of a mile away, but it's quite a ways away. But it is quite a bit higher than my site. And it's a cleaners. And they're known for leaks. So I'm going to keep an eye out on this site, and I'm probably going to try to find out how old this cleaner is. But it looks like everything flows down to my site from this site. So let's go back to the 16th, and it's up around here. So it's outside the 16th. I think it was 28. It's right here. So we know groundwater flows this way. Probably catches the northeast corner of my site. So I'm not as concerned about that site as I am too, but that could be a wreck based on potential vapor intrusion, which we give a class on. So, and keep in mind our template addresses vapor intrusion. So now you've started creating the field file, and that's really important. You sent out the questionnaires. You're picking up local history from our site, local files, and you're getting the environmental questionnaires done. Now, why do you put environmental questionnaires, blank ones, in a field file? Because when your site assessor's out in the field, you want him to pick up everything. So, preparation of the field folder, site contact name and number. In case he's got a call, the person doesn't show up, nobody's there, it happens all the time. Site location map. You can take this right out of the Phase I if you want. I mean, out of the record search report if you want. Because there's the site location map. What's that show you? Wow, all kinds of things, but it shows you it's a boat facility. There's the topo, there's the site location map. These are set up so they can be site location map in your report. Figure 2. It would have your name here. It has a site thing. It'd have your job number here automatically. Pretty sweet. You just have to enter that data when you order the report. Or if you're a current client, your company data will automatically be in every report. So, you also want to provide a separate plain road map or parcel map of the site, blown up to the site size. And the reason you want to do that is, as your site assessor goes around and takes pictures, they can mark an arrow where they took the picture from and the direction the picture was taken, and then put the photo number on that arrow. Why is that important? Remember, if you're not doing the field inspection, you don't want to have to go back out to the site. This person is your eyes and ears, and they need to show you the whole site and take pictures of everything, including things they don't know of, including things they do know of, spills, leaks, stains, that kind of stuff, hazardous material storage, both good and bad. I mean, if you're in an automotive shop and you could eat off the floor, take a picture of it. That's a good thing. Document it. Remember, all this stuff becomes documentation in a legal document, so you don't get sued later on. So you show the client you're building a set of facts. Set of facts that the site's clean, set of facts that the site's dirty or potentially dirty. So a map for marking them, a field checklist. Now you want a field checklist that's designed to specifically fit your report template. Ours does. We'll give you a copy of it if you're a client of this field checklist. This field checklist has got to be designed specifically to cover everything. You don't want this assessor to miss anything. If you're the assessor and the report writer, you don't want to miss anything. You get my age and you have senior moments and forget things. This field checklist needs to be filled out, needs to be comprehensive, and it doesn't take a lot of time when you get used to it, but yet it questions the inspector to look at everything. And then under other, on the field checklist, you've already marked it on a map what you want them to look for, but also put it in the notes so they look for it too. Now, if you haven't gone back any of the questionnaires from the owner or the contact person or whoever, now's the time. You're going to have the site assessor do a field interview, and that's why you want a copy of your interview sheet to document inside the field folder. In addition, we already talked about including the 16th or quarter-mile map out of the radius search, or carry around your phone with our app report on it. Sweet deal, helps you. So now the site walk. So now you've got a field file. You've already scheduled the appointment date, time, person your meetings, names, documented and in the field file. We have a document for that. We have a document for everything, by the way. But basically now the site walk. So the field assessor has already talked to the report writer, if they're not the report writer, reviewed all this stuff, got the gist of it, and is heading out to the field to do the site walk. You know, when you're doing, one time we did, I don't know, 300 apartment complexes in Oklahoma City for the same client. Well, one of the things you've got to be real careful of is not mixing up your sites. So the first thing, you take a cover photo. This cover photo is also to be used for the cover of your report, but it should show the name, address of the business, name and address of the business, and anything else, so it's identifying. So if they grab your report out of a stack of a bunch of Phase I's right on the cover, they see a picture, without even looking at the address, they know that report is for the right site. It also, you start with that first photo, you know where your photos end if you're doing multiple sites in one day. Very important. So we used to always require, get business card of site contact. If they don't have one, write it down on an interview sheet, phone number, email, all that stuff. If there's an on-site person, manager, or owner, get business cards and information from everybody. Go ahead and do a quick environmental. Hey, do you know of any environmental concerns on the site? Do you have any hazardous material? Do you store any bulk drums, greater than, let's say, 20 gallons anywhere? Do ask them, has there ever been a UST on site? Or AST for that matter. Ask them all the pertinent questions. He can always fill out an interview sheet when he gets back to the office, and he's documented and remembered. If a client says there's no environmental problem and never known of any environmental problems, that's a legal statement. You put it on an interview sheet. It helps protect you and your client. So anyway, outside first photo, it's always outside, always the front of the building, and it should be your cover photo. So our assessors always worked in the same clockwise pattern, both inside and outside. Now, that's not 100% possible to do always, or sometimes your site contact or on-site person wants to do it a different way. That's okay. But if you can get a pattern set up, then you always know where the photos go and where you're at in a building or outside. So work in a clockwise fashion around the perimeter. We always tried to do the outside first. There's a reason for doing outside first, because in a lot of warehouses or corrugated metal buildings or automotive repair or manufacturing, you can see vent pipes running up the side. You can see staining on the wall, staining coming out at the footing, base of the concrete pad of the building, all kinds of things, and you find that on the outside. So walk the perimeter. Now remember, you know what adjacent sites to look at. As you're walking the perimeter, you're looking over the fence. You're taking pictures of your adjacent site if need be. You're marking. You're going to mark these photos on your map later on, not as you go around, because it's really hard to juggle everything. But you do have your checklist out. You're marking on this checklist. Take pictures of everything. If you don't know what something is, take a picture of it. If it's clean and looks good, take a picture of it. Not every picture has to be used in a report, but remember, these are your eyes and ears for knowing what the site is later. If you're writing a lot of reports, you won't get confused on reports if you're doing the site. Note drains, both storm drains, floor drains, any subsurface features you can note, heavy staining, French drains, clarifiers, etc. There's a spot on the field checklist to mark all that stuff on. Do the outside, do the side of the building, and always refer to the checklist, because the checklist is going to key you on what to look for. So let's look at a checklist real quick here. I think I have a handy one. So we developed field checklists for commercial, industrial, and vacant land. That pretty much covered everything. So let's look at a checklist just real quick. You've got to have a real comprehensive checklist. This is the checklist. It's all a Word document. This goes out in the field with the assessor. You'll note the Q. All those Q numbers match the specific report writing template. So anything put in here can be typed by a word processor. A word processor is a quicker typist than most environmental professionals. At least sure as me, and I probably type somewhere between 50 and 60 words a minute. You get a good word processor that types for you part-time or whatever, they can type this stuff in half the time you can type it in. Very expensive and very important. And remember, this exactly matches the report, which has site back section, geological features. Real quickly, does the subject site have any waterways, wetlands, pits, lagoons, ponds? Adjoining sites, same thing. Stormwater discharge, storage tanks, existing AST, UST, places to put it, photo number, construction, anything you can find out. This keys you on absolutely everything. Elevator, clarifiers, sumps, trenches, floor drains. Are there any or not? Do you want this, once the assessor finishes the sidewalk, they should go back to their vehicle, sit in it, and finish filling this out. Stains, surface staining, approximate depth. Now, approximate depth, that's a funny thing. Well, there's a stain in the South 40 on the dirt. It's a real heavy stain. There's actually some pulling. But how many people go out there and take their heel and scrape along the soil to see how deep it goes? They should every time. I mean, if it's just surface and doesn't go anywhere, it's not a big deal. But if it's got any depth to it and you can't find the bottom with your heel, hey, you might have a recognized environmental concern here. Stressed vegetation, past agriculture, adjacent site. And then it tells you how to do the photo description. So, and you can write those descriptions right in as you mark them on the map while you're sitting in your car. It's sweet. This property checklist cue sheet works great. It really makes it easy to do your field checklist and cues them on, not missing a thing. Back at the office, very important. The field assessor needs to immediately download their photos, review and finish marking the map, make sure it matches the photos, fill out the interview sheets and sign them, and if you need to scan them or put them into the file, all this should go into your file that you've made, your electronic file. And then give the field file, all hard copies of things you got from the site, and give it all to the environmental professional or report writer. And if you're it, you got it. And it's all slowly coming together, right? So we teach a class on writing the report, how to save time in that. And this is pretty much the stuff we go through. So, and just to give you a little heads up, basically we run through an actual site and we show, you know, how to interpret the field checklist and the historical and what you're looking at. And you keep a notepad beside you and write it down, and you review a whole bunch of stuff before you even start writing the report. And that's a whole nother class. So anyway, I hope you picked up a little something that'll help you. We have all these forms and systems set up if you want to use them and you're our client. And we do have that report writing webinar this Thursday. If you do attend, I'll try not to repeat anything. I tend to. And so, does anyone have any questions at all on this? Okay, that's the end of the first part, part one. There are some time-saving things. Remember, once you set up a system, you follow through with it and do it, and people do it over and over, you get very efficient, very good at what you do. Obviously, I couldn't cover every single thing. I couldn't teach you how to do a sidewalk. I mean, I could, but it'd be a lot longer webinar. Um, and we could actually do a site model and do it. If you want anyone else in your office, or you want to do your whole office, you got 5 or 10 people who'd like to do one of our webinars, we could do a private webinar just for you. Just let us know. If you're not currently our client, or you were our client a long time ago and want to become our client again, we'd love to have you. We do really great customer service, and we try to make it easy for you. Keep in mind, everything was developed by environmental professionals, and we'd love to have you. So try our app and try our radius search report, and I think you'll be a happy camper. And try a pack, you know, with the aerial photos, fire insurance maps, and city directories in it. We think we do the best job in the nation in that. So, and just to let you, a reminder, we have environmental insurance on everything, so you don't have to cover it if you put it into your report. If you put it into your report that somebody doesn't have that environmental insurance, it's your liability. Remember that. Okay. Any questions? You're welcome, Alyssa. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you picked up a little something. Like I said, I don't know it all. And hope you attend some of our other webinars. Thank you very much. Have a super, super good afternoon, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys again.